Hey everyone, this is Pastor Jim, and on this last day of March, I just want to share a little devotional thought with all of you. Before I do, those of you at Palm West, we want to make you aware that after yesterday's announcements by the President and the Governor Ducey here in Arizona, that we have decided to shut down all of our activities for the month of April. It was likely anyway, but we're just officially making it known that there'll be no worship services or on-campus meetings the whole month of April as we continue to walk through this journey. Also, I want to let you know that tomorrow I'm going to be doing an extended devotional, sort of a teaching thing, at 11 o'clock on anxiety. And so I'm going to talk about just managing anxiety and fears when we feel out of control. And I'm going to do that at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for those of you back in the Midwest. And it's going to be available through Zoom. And also I'll be doing it Facebook Live at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So you can join in either one of those two. If you email me or send me a note, in the email from our church, you'll be able to have a link you can click. So if you want to join on Zoom or Facebook, that'll be at 11 o'clock on April 1st. We can do about a half an hour, 40 minutes on the idea of anxiety and sort of navigating life when we are sort of out of our comfort zone. But for today, I do want to share just a brief note with you from Psalm 55. In Psalm 55, David says, "Listen to my prayer, O God, and do not ignore my plea. Hear me and answer me. My thoughts trouble me, and I am distraught." And then a few verses later, he says, "My heart is in anguish within me. The terrors of death have fallen on me. Fear and trembling have beset me, and horror has overwhelmed me. I said, oh, that I had wings like a dove, and I would fly away and be at rest. I would fly away and stand in the desert. I would hurry to my place of shelter, far from the tempest and the storm." David was under great anxiety and trouble. Now, David's foe was his enemies that were trying to take his life. But nonetheless, we read this very raw account in Psalm 55 where David is wrestling with this inner turmoil. He says, "God, hear my prayer. I beg you, hear what I have to say because I'm troubled on the inside. I feel overwhelmed with terror. I feel overwhelmed with anxiety and fear." David says, "You know what? I wish I had wings like a dove. I could just fly away and escape all this and not have to deal with it." You know, we're about 2 or 3 weeks into this social distancing and shutting down of our activities. And the novelty of it is wearing off. And a lot of people are getting antsy. A number of people have shared with me they're fighting real anxieties and fears just about how to get through this and what's going to happen. And it can be a very difficult time for us. But as David prayed his prayer, as David asked God to intervene, as David was very honest about the emotions that he was dealing with, what we find is that he asked God to basically protect him from his enemies, to shelter him, to guard him, and to rescue him. And at the end of this chapter 55, David says, "Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken." It's almost like he's talking to himself outside of himself. He says, "Cast your cares upon the Lord, he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. But you, God, will bring down the wicked." And then he closes by saying this, "But as for me, I trust in you." And really, that's the beautiful thing about Psalm 55 is that there is no resolution. We see David in this moment, this very real time experience where David in the moment is dealing with being out of control and wrestling with fear and anxiety on the inside. But all David can do is say, "God, hear my prayer." And he can talk to himself and say, "Trust the Lord, cast your cares upon him, he will sustain you." And then David ends his psalm by affirming, "But I will trust you, Lord." And sometimes in life, that's all we have, is we can just choose to make a conscious decision to say, "Lord, I remember what you did in my life. I remember when you saved me. I remember when you became true to me. I remember how you've spoken to me in days past in your word. And so, Lord, I choose to trust you, that you are working in my life. You are working through my life. You are working around my life." And while there is no promise about how our lives are going to play out today or tomorrow or next week or next month or next year, there's no promises that we have about our economy, about the world, about how this virus is going to shape up, about how it's going to affect us or the people we love. The one thing we can do is make a conscious decision to draw near to God and to say, "Lord, I choose to trust you, to cast our cares and our anxieties upon him." And when we do, what we often find is that God is with us. He gives comfort. He gives strength. And my friends, I hope and pray that today you can cast your cares upon him and that you can place your trust in the Lord. And when you do, I pray that God will sustain you. Thank you very much. have a great day. And if you're around tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'm going to be doing an extended teaching at 11 Pacific Standard Time. And hopefully you'll join us then on April 1st. Otherwise, God bless you.